This is your daily dose of Reddit stories.
I pretended to be unconscious in the hospital to discover what my family really thought of me. It all started 3 days after my motorcycle accident. The doctor said I barely made it. Broken ribs, concussion, fractured leg, but my recovery was going better than everyone expected. On the 3rd day, I was completely lucid, but when I heard footsteps approaching, I decided to keep my eyes closed. My older brother, Camden, was the first to enter. "Is she still out?" he asked whoever was behind him. "Great," my mother replied. "Maybe this way she'll finally learn something." My heart froze. What did she mean by that? Like riding that death machine at 25? My mother continued. "She's always been reckless. Remember when she dropped out of law school?" "To be a paramedic," Camden corrected. "And honestly, that might have been the smartest choice. Law was never really her thing anyway." I lay there motionless, listening to my family dissect each of my choices as if I had already passed away. The worst part, according to my mother, was the money. "Do you have any idea what this hospitalization is costing? And she only has that basic insurance from the ambulance job." "We could always..." Camden began, lowering his voice. "Don't even think about it," my mother whispered back. "I'm just saying, if she doesn't wake up, the life insurance would." "Stop," my mother cut him off sharply. "Someone might hear." I felt a chill run through my body. They were discussing my life insurance while I was lying right there, hearing everything. "Look, I think maybe this is a sign," Camden insisted. "She never really fit in here. Always wanting to be a hero, always embarrassing us with that blue-collar job. Remember when she brought that homeless man to Christmas dinner? Or when she testified against Uncle Richard in court," my mother added with contempt. Uncle Richard, the famous family secret no one could mention, the reason I had cut contact with almost everyone 2 years ago. "She destroyed this family," my mother murmured. "Richard is in prison because of her lies." Lies. They called everything I told them about what he did to me lies. Silence filled the room. I heard the rustle of clothes, someone leaning close to the bed. "You know what I think?" Camden spoke quietly. "I think it's time to have a serious conversation with the doctor about her condition." "What do you mean by that?" my mother barely whispered. "That conversation about quality of life. Brain injury is no joke. Sometimes the most humane decision is to let someone go in peace." "Camden, think carefully," my mother said. "She's not going to change. She'll wake up and go back to embarrassing us. Back to that dead-end job, those bleeding heart causes, that vindictive crusade against her own family. She ruined our lives," my mother said more firmly. "We lost the club, our positions on the charity boards. You know the humiliation I went through when the Weatherbees kicked me out because of her lies about Richard." Camden agreed. The delusions of a troubled girl destroyed a decent man's reputation. Delusions to them. 15 years of abuse were just my imagination. "If she doesn't wake up," Camden continued slowly, "the insurance money would solve a lot of problems. Could pay off the house, maybe take that trip to Europe you've been wanting." "How much is the insurance?" my mother asked. 200,000. "And there might be a settlement with the motorcycle manufacturer. Remember that brake issue?" My stomach turned. There was nothing wrong with the brakes. I had slipped on ice. "We'll have to act properly," my mother pondered. "It has to look natural." Of course. Devastated family forced to make the difficult decision to let their daughter go. "We should talk to the doctor soon, before she shows signs of improvement." I heard someone approach my bed again. "Look at her," Camden said coldly. 25 years old, and look what she has to show for it. No husband, no real career, no money. Just disappointment. "I expected so much from her," my mother sighed. "Law school, a nice marriage, grandchildren. In the end, she threw it all away. For what? To save people who don't even know who she is, who'll never thank her. She's always been selfish." "The funeral would still help our image," Camden reflected. "Tragic young woman, life cut short. People love a martyr story. We could create a scholarship fund. Perfect, my mother said, excited by the idea. Shows we always supported her career. Turns her into a symbol and gets the problem out of the way for good. I heard footsteps heading toward the door. I'll talk to the doctor, my mother announced. What was his name again? Martinez. Good idea. I'll call the insurance company just to understand how it works. Remember, if anyone asks, we were here praying for her to get better. The door clicked shut. I lay there immersed in darkness, trying to digest everything I had just heard. It wasn't just disappointment. My family was actually hoping I wouldn't survive, and they were planning to profit from it. I forced myself to breathe deeply, keep my heart rate steady. The monitors beside the bed beeped, marking time while I tried to understand what kind of people surrounded me. That night, I replayed every childhood conversation, every family gathering, every moment I thought I was loved. How many of those smiles were fake? How many times did they pretend pride just to impress others? I remembered the night I finally told them everything about Uncle Richard. I was 22, home on college break. I had spent 4 years in therapy to build up the courage to speak. When I finally told them what he did to me from age 7 to 18, my parents didn't worry about me. They only thought about the family's reputation. Are you sure you remember correctly? My mother asked. You were so small. Children sometimes don't understand adult affection properly. My father added, they spent the whole conversation trying to convince me I was mistaken, that Uncle Richard was a good man who just wanted to help. When I insisted and showed them the diary where I had recorded everything, they accused me of having a vivid imagination. You've always been dramatic, my mother said, making up stories for attention. But I never made anything up. 2 years later, when Uncle Richard was finally caught abusing my cousin Layla, there was no more pretending. The evidence was clear, the medical reports left no doubt. Still, incredibly, I remained the villain in their narrative. The next day, more relatives arrived. Bridget, my cousin, showed up with her husband, Trevor, both flaunting expensive clothes like they wanted to show they'd made it in life. Any news? Bridget asked, sitting beside my bed as if at a party. None, my mother replied with soap opera sadness. The doctors say anything could happen. What a tragedy, Trevor commented. But he sounded like he was talking about the weather, not me. She was so young. Has anyone been to her apartment? I immediately caught the intention behind her tone. I mean, someone has to check on things, make sure nothing goes missing. My apartment, the hard-earned studio paid for with 3 jobs, full of second-hand furniture and art from people who became friends. It wasn't luxury, but it was mine. Camden has the keys, my mother said. He's handling it. Good, Trevor said. Does she have anything of value? Electronics, jewelry, saved money. I couldn't believe their audacity, making an inventory of my belongings while I lay there, supposedly unconscious, just feet away. Nothing much, Camden replied, entering the room. The bike was the most expensive thing she had, and it's gone. Money, investments, retirement. Bridget insisted. She blew it all on that ridiculous motorcycle. My mother cut in dismissively. And she gave money to everyone who showed up with a sad story. They were talking about the donations I made to the women's shelter, the veteran I helped start over, the immigrant family who couldn't pay their hospital bill after an accident, or that time I paid for a stranger's cancer treatment. Remember when she paid for a stranger's treatment? Bridget laughed coldly. Thousands of dollars for someone she only saw once. Or when she donated her entire Christmas bonus to the animal shelter. At least she had good life insurance, Trevor commented, returning to money talk. Who are the beneficiaries? Bridget asked, trying to sound casual but failing. My mother and I, Camden answered. She did it when she started the job, back when she still thought we were family, before she testified against Uncle Richard, before she discovered the truth was worth less to us than our reputation. How lucky, Trevor murmured. And the word hit me like a punch. Deep down, for them, my death could be a stroke of luck. They stayed another hour, alternating between feigning concern for my health and showing real interest in my finances. They talked about the funeral, tributes, How to tell my story in the prettiest way possible. No mention of missing me, no good memories, no hope I might improve. They treated me as if I were already dead, as if my existence were problem solved. When they left, I heard my mother whispering with Camden in the hallway. "Have you talked to Dr. Martinez yet?" "I'll talk to him this afternoon," he replied. "I want to know what her real prognosis is and what we can do." What they could do, not me. Later, Dr. Martinez entered with Camden, and the mood immediately felt heavy. I liked Dr. Martinez. He always seemed sincere, competent, genuinely concerned. I hoped he wouldn't fall for Camden's game. "Doctor, I need to ask some difficult questions." Camden began with rehearsed emotion that gave me chills. "Of course. How can I help?" "My sister has always been troubled. Mental health issues. Bad decisions. Is there a chance that even if she wakes up, she won't be who she was?" I felt sick. Camden was setting the stage to say I was incompetent, creating the perfect story to justify any plan. "Brain injuries can affect personality and cognition," Dr. Martinez answered carefully. "But her tests are very encouraging. I expect her to make a complete recovery." "But you can't guarantee it." "Medicine never guarantees, Mr. Thornfield. We work with probabilities, and hers are excellent." "What if the family isn't comfortable with the risk?" Camden insisted naturally. Dr. Martinez took a moment to respond. "I'm not sure I understand your question," he said slowly. "I want to know our options. If we feel her quality of life won't be sufficient." Another pause. A dangerous one. "Are you asking about discontinuing life support?" "I want to know all possibilities." "Your sister isn't on machines. She breathes on her own. Vital signs stable. Brain functioning. There's nothing to disconnect. But if her condition worsens?" "There's no indication that will happen. In fact, I expect her to wake up in a day or two." I felt Camden's frustration filling the room. "Doctor, you don't understand. My sister has a history of poor choices, impulsivity. She's caused the family so much suffering with false accusations." False accusations. 15 years of documented abuse, and they called it lies. "Mr. Thornfield, my role is to care for health, not judge personal choices. Your sister is doing well, and that's what matters to me. Even if she's a danger to herself or others." "Has she been declared incompetent?" "No. Then she has the same rights as any adult. Now I'm going to examine her. Please wait outside." Camden's footsteps echoed angrily down the hallway, and you could feel the venom in how he walked. Dr. Martinez approached my bed, and just having him nearby made me feel a bit safer. "Your vitals are excellent," he commented while making notes in my chart. "Heart rate, pressure, brain activity, all as expected for someone in your situation." Then he leaned in, lowered his voice to almost a whisper, and said, "I know you're hearing me. Your brother's questions were inappropriate, but I want you to know that no one will decide anything about your treatment without your consent. When you feel it's time to wake up, just open your eyes." Instantly, my heart rate accelerated on the monitor, revealing I was conscious. "That's what I thought," he murmured quietly. "There's no rush. I'll be here when you're ready." He left, and I lay there trying to process what had just happened. Dr. Martinez knew I was conscious. He was protecting me. But for how long? And what would Camden do when he realized his plan wasn't working? That night, the door opened to a parade of relatives I hadn't seen since Uncle Richard's trial. After the conviction, everyone cut contact with me, preferring to stand by an abuser rather than admit they had failed me. My Aunt Dolores was first to enter, clutching her designer purse like a shield, her face worked into exaggerated mourning. "What a tragedy," she sighed dramatically, sitting in the nearest chair. "She had so much potential." "Wasted potential," Uncle Paul corrected, joining her. "But perhaps this is all God's way of giving her peace." "Peace from what?" My mother shot back, though I suspected she already knew the answer. "From her own demons, from the lies she invented, from the guilt of destroying our family." They actually thought I carried guilt, that I was tormented for telling the truth about Uncle Richard. Richard always said she was troubled from a young age, Dolores continued, excited by her own version. Always making up stories, wanting attention. He tried to help, you know? Spent hours with her trying to be a positive influence. Positive influence, that's what they called the abuse. The trial almost destroyed him, Paul added in a tone of rehearsed sadness. An innocent man ruined by a disturbed girl's inventions. But now he's better, Dolores brightened as if seeing some redemption. Prison gave him time to think. To forgive what she did. Forgive me for what he did to me. Sometimes he writes to us, Paul said. Never angry, never resentful. Just sad that she couldn't accept his love and guidance. His love. For them, 15 years of abuse was love. Maybe if she doesn't wake up, it would be better, Paul pondered as if reflecting on a philosophical dilemma. At least she wouldn't cause more suffering, and Richard could finally have peace. Dolores agreed. Poor man, he's suffered enough. They stayed for hours, taking turns constructing a fantasy version of their relationship with me and Uncle Richard. In their story, he was a misunderstood saint who tried to save a troubled child. I was a spiteful liar responsible for ruining an innocent man's life out of pure spite. The scariest part was seeing how much they seemed to believe it. It wasn't just theater. They had actually rewritten everything in their heads to avoid facing that they had failed me. When they finally left, I heard Paul telling Camden in the hallway, "If you need a character witness, just call. We're at your disposal." Character witness. They were already preparing to question my sanity. The next day, my father came. I hadn't seen him since the trial, when he sat in the back row, arms crossed, not reacting to anything he heard. When the sentence came down, he simply stood up and left without looking back. Now he sat beside my bed, and for a moment, I wanted to believe maybe time had changed something. Maybe he had understood what Uncle Richard really did to me. "I don't know if you can hear me," he began, his voice hoarse, carrying emotion that seemed real. "But I need to tell you something." The monitor started beeping faster, betraying that I was paying attention. "Your mother thinks I should let you go. Camden thinks it would be an act of mercy. Maybe they're right." In that instant, I felt any hope die inside me. "You destroyed this family," he continued, his voice now firmer. "My brother is in prison because of you. My wife can't even set foot in church anymore. My son has to constantly explain to others why his sister destroyed our reputation. But I know what motivated you. You were always jealous of Richard. He was successful, respected. He achieved everything you didn't have. So you decided to take him down. Jealous of my abuser, of the man who destroyed my childhood. The worst part is people believed you. Even a court believed you. But I know my brother. He's a good man who made a mistake." A mistake? No. Several. No, a cycle of abuse that lasted over 10 years. Just a mistake. "He trusted you," my father continued. "Tried to be like a father when you needed one, and you repaid him by destroying his life. Like a father." The irony almost suffocated me. If you wake up, nothing changes. You'll still be that vindictive girl who just wanted attention, who destroyed the family for 5 minutes of fame in court. 5 minutes. 4 days of testimony about 15 years of abuse. For him, it was just attention-seeking. "Maybe it's better if you don't wake up," he said, standing to leave. "I think everyone would be happier that way." He started to leave but stopped at the door and came back. "I've already signed the papers Camden brought. If your condition worsens, we won't keep you on machines. It's best for everyone." Papers. They had prepared everything to ensure my death. "I should hate you for what you did to Richard," he murmured finally, lowering his tone. "But you're still my daughter. I just hope you find some peace." After he left, I lay there trying to understand how far their betrayal had gone. The man who should have protected me chose my abuser's side. He not only refused to believe me but was actively helping to erase me from the world. It felt like a punch to the stomach. I was completely alone. The people who should have loved me most only knew how to put conditions on their love, and I didn't meet any of them because I refused to pretend nothing had happened. That night, a different voice entered the room, feminine, confident, professional, someone accustomed to dealing with wounds no one sees. Mrs. Thornfield, I'm attorney Patricia Walsh. You contacted me about your daughter's situation. A lawyer. They had hired a professional to help remove me from the picture. Yes, my mother replied, settling into the visitor's chair. We want to understand our options regarding our daughter's care. I've reviewed the medical records you sent. Her condition is stable, correct? For now, yes. But brain injury is unpredictable. The doctors warned complications could arise. That wasn't true. Dr. Martinez had made it clear I was recovering well. And you mentioned concerns about her mental capacity. She's been making increasingly impulsive decisions in recent years, my mother stated, growing more confident in her own speech. She dropped out of law school to take a low-paying job. She alienated the entire family with absurd accusations against her uncle. Absurd accusations. She said he abused her as a child. The court believed her lies. Now an innocent man is in prison. I see. And the concern is that if she recovers, she'll continue making harmful decisions. We're afraid she might end up being a risk to herself and others. She's always been impulsive, reckless. This motorcycle accident is just the latest example. If she wakes up, you can petition for judicial guardianship, claiming incapacity. With the right documentation, you'd make decisions for her in medical and financial matters. What documents would be necessary? Psychiatric evaluation, testimony from relatives about her behavior, proof of the wrong decisions she made. The more complete the file, the better the chances. And if she doesn't wake up? In that case, the medical power of attorney you already have allows you to decide everything about the end of her life. Medical power of attorney. They had given themselves the legal right to let me die, while I couldn't even protest. How quickly could this happen? Camden's voice appeared as he entered the room. If she wakes up, we file the petition in a few days. The court requires an evaluation, and if she's deemed incompetent, you assume as guardians. And if she doesn't wake up? Then the decision is between you and the doctors. Some families prefer to maintain life support indefinitely. Others find it more humane to allow life to take its course. They spent over an hour discussing legal strategies, financial implications, and how to build the case about my supposed incapacity. Attorney Walsh guided them on how to document my behavior, who would be the best witnesses, and what type of psychiatric report would support the allegations. When they finished, I had understood every detail of their plan. If I woke up, they would be my guardians and control everything in my life. If I didn't wake up, they'd let me die and still get the insurance money. Either way, they'd solve the problem I represented. But they made one serious mistake. They thought I was defenseless, that I had no voice or strength to interfere with what they were plotting. They were about to discover otherwise. The next day, Dr. Martinez appeared alone for rounds. As soon as he entered the room, I could tell he was tense. I know you're awake, he said quietly after checking if the door was closed. And I know what your family is planning. We need to talk. I opened my eyes slowly, the light feeling too bright. How long have you known? I whispered, my voice hoarse from so many days without speaking. Since yesterday. Your heart rate spikes every time they say something that bothers you. The tests show normal brain activity. You're physically capable of being conscious. They want to kill me, I said, not believing my own words. I know. Legally, they might be able to. They've already filed everything to secure medical power of attorney. How is that possible? I never authorized anything. They claimed you were incapacitated and had no living will. With no one to contest, the court accepted the emergency petition. But now I'm conscious. Yes, but they can claim the injury affected your judgment. With a psychiatric evaluation and family support, they could get you declared incompetent. What can I do? Dr. Martinez pulled a chair close to my bed. Honestly, you have few options, but you're not without recourse. Tell me about this uncle they mentioned. The one who's in prison. And I told him everything. How Uncle Richard came to live with us when I was 7 after a messy divorce left him homeless. How my parents took him in, grateful for help while they worked all day, until that help became something much darker. It started as play, I said, feeling the words cut my throat. Games that were our secret. He said I was mature, that I could handle adult things other children couldn't. Dr. Martinez listened without interrupting, taking some notes. By the time I was 10, it had gotten worse. He convinced me it was normal, that all uncles did this. If I showed discomfort, he reminded me how much my parents depended on him, how they'd be hurt if I caused trouble. Did you try telling anyone? When I was 12, I tried talking to my mother. She was getting ready for work, rushing through the kitchen. I said Uncle Richard made me uncomfortable. What did she say? She said I was being dramatic, that he was family and would never hurt me. She said I should be grateful to have such a caring uncle. Dr. Martinez shook his head in disgust. The abuse continued until I went to college at 18. Even then, during holiday visits, he'd find ways to corner me. I only understood what had really happened to me when I started therapy. At 22, I finally reported him. What made you finally come forward? My cousin Layla. She was 7, the same age I was when it all started. I noticed he was giving her the same kind of attention. I couldn't let it happen again. Did you go to the police? First, I tried warning my family. I thought by explaining what he did to me, they'd protect Layla. But they accused me of jealousy, of wanting attention, of revenge. They said I was making it all up just to hurt Uncle Richard, that I was jealous of his success. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was. But I couldn't let Layla go through what I went through, so I went to the police alone. Did they believe you? At first, no. But the detective had experience with sexual abuse cases. She knew what to look for, how to ask questions. When they examined Layla, they found evidence confirming my worst fears. He was already doing it to her. Yes, for months. And it wasn't just her. There were girls in the neighborhood, his ex-wife's daughter from his first marriage. The investigation showed it was a 20-year pattern. Dr. Martinez sat in silence, taking it all in. Your family still doesn't believe you. They believe what's convenient. Admitting he's guilty would mean admitting they never protected me. It's easier to think I made it all up. And now, what do you want to do? I want to disappear. I want them to think I died. That's complicated and illegal. More illegal than planning a murder. I understand what you mean, but faking a death involves falsifying documents, insurance fraud. You could face federal charges. What if we don't fake it? What if we let them decide? Dr. Martinez raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean? They want to discontinue life support, right? What if we give them that option? If I have a medical emergency that requires life support and they choose to let me die, but you don't actually let me die. That's extremely risky. Less risky than letting them actually kill me. Dr. Martinez reviewed my chart thoughtfully. Maybe there's another way, he said slowly. But it would require perfect timing, blind trust, and would be dangerous for both of us. What way? Medical records can be interpreted creatively. If you suddenly got worse, needed emergency intervention, and then died despite all efforts, well, death certificates are based on medical judgment. You'd fake my death. I'd report a tragic outcome after complications from traumatic brain injury, which wouldn't be completely false. You really did have a brain injury. And after, you'd have to start over with a new identity, hidden forever. It seemed impossible. Too difficult. Too dangerous. But the alternative was letting my family decide my fate or control me for the rest of my life. Let's do it, I said. Are you sure? Once you're officially declared dead, there's no going back. You'll lose everything. Career, friends, your entire history. I've already lost my family. The rest I can rebuild. Your work, your colleagues, they'll remember you as someone who left too soon. Better that than never really existing at all. Dr. Martinez spent the next hour explaining every detail. He would record a sudden deterioration in my condition, requiring immediate life support. My family would be called to decide on continuing care. When they chose to let me die, he would certify my death and send my body to a funeral home connected with the Witness Protection Program. If this comes out, my career is over, he warned. I lose my license. I could even be prosecuted. Why take that risk? Because I've seen what families like yours can do to survivors. Because I swore to do no harm, and letting them kill you would go against everything I believe. And because sometimes the system fails those who need it most. What do you expect from me? Total trust. When the moment comes, you'll need to stop breathing on your own. You have to let the monitor show cardiac arrest, but still be conscious to hear everything. How long do I need to stop breathing? Not long, 30 seconds maximum. But it needs to be convincing. What if it goes wrong? Then we improvise. But I'll be watching everything. I won't let anything happen to you. 2 days later, Dr. Martinez called my family, saying my condition had suddenly worsened. Brain swelling had increased dramatically. I had to be intubated urgently. They needed to come immediately. When they arrived, I was connected to a ventilator, deeply sedated according to the chart, but actually completely awake. Dr. Martinez had trained me until I knew how to not move a muscle, let the machine do everything, not react to anything. What happened? My mother asked, her voice almost vibrating with contained anticipation. The brain swelling increased suddenly overnight, Dr. Martinez explained. We had to intubate to protect her airway. She's now in an induced coma. And the prognosis? Camden wanted to know, trying to sound concerned but not hiding his anxiety. It's delicate. The increased pressure affected important brain areas. Even if we manage to control the swelling, there could be severe complications. What kind of complications? My mother insisted. Cognitive deficits, personality changes, loss of movement. She may never be who she was. I could feel their relief in the air. What can we do? Camden asked. We can continue with more aggressive treatment and hope it works, or... Dr. Martinez paused. Or what? My mother immediately wanted to know. Given the poor prospects and possibility of serious complications, some families choose to discontinue life support and allow a natural outcome. Is that what you suggest? Camden wanted to confirm. I can't make that decision for you. I can only explain the options and respect what you decide. They asked for time to discuss alone. Even with my eyes closed, I felt everyone gathering near the window, whispering about what they were going to do with me. Doctor, my mother returned to my bedside. We've decided. We want to disconnect life support. It's what she would have wanted. She always said she didn't want to live if she couldn't be independent. I never said that, but I wasn't surprised they invented a story to justify it. She wouldn't want to be a burden to anyone, Camden added. It's the most humane thing to do. Humane. Killing me was humane. Are you certain? Dr. Martinez asked. This decision is irreversible. We're certain, Camden answered firmly. When can we start? I need to fill out some paperwork, notify the ethics committee, and give time for other family members to say goodbye. Tomorrow morning we can begin the procedure. That night, Dr. Martinez appeared after the shift change. Are you ready for this? He whispered, looking around to see if anyone was in the hallway. I squeezed his hand for the first time in days, acting of my own will. Tomorrow, when they remove the ventilator, you'll need to hold your breath for about 30 seconds. I'll record cardiac arrest and then make some resuscitation attempts that won't work. After that, you'll be taken to the morgue and from there to our contact at the funeral home. Your records here will show you died from complications after withdrawal of life support. The cause will be listed as natural. Brain death after traumatic injury. What if they request an autopsy? They won't. Your family already opted for immediate cremation. No ceremony. Of course. The faster I disappeared, the faster they'd get the insurance and move on. One more thing, Dr. Martinez said. I found someone who specializes in helping abuse survivors start over from scratch. She'll be waiting for you at the funeral home to begin the process of creating your new identity. What's her name? Agent Patricia Wolf from the FBI. She's been following your uncle's case and knows how your family reacted to your testimony. The FBI was involved. This went beyond my relative's simple greed. It was part of an investigation into how families try to silence abuse survivors. The next morning, all my distant relatives showed up for my vigil. Aunts, uncles, cousins, people who hadn't reached out in years made a point of witnessing my final moments. They spread around the bed as if at a funeral, displaying expressions of sadness so fake they didn't even reach their eyes. Dr. Martinez explained the procedure with complete seriousness. Once they disconnected the support, my body might try to breathe on its own or my heart would stop completely. It wasn't possible to predict. Before we begin, my mother announced, "We want to say goodbye." One by one, they came to the bed, each with empty farewell phrases. "We love you. Rest in peace. Now you'll find the peace you were searching for." Uncle Paul leaned in and whispered just for me, "Maybe now Richard can forgive you." Aunt Dolores squeezed my hand and said, "We know you regret what you did to our family." My father kissed my forehead and murmured, "I hope you find what you're looking for." Camden was last. He held my hand firmly and spoke loudly for everyone to hear. "We're so sorry it has to be this way, but we know it's what you wanted. To be free from this pain you carry." What I wanted. They were killing me, claiming it was for my own good. "Are you ready to continue?" Dr. Martinez asked. "We're ready," my mother answered without hesitation. Then the withdrawal of life support began. First, he cut the intravenous medications, those that supposedly kept me sedated. Then he removed the feeding tube. Finally, he prepared to remove the breathing tube. "As soon as I remove the tube, we'll know quickly if she can breathe on her own," he explained. "And if she can't?" Camden asked. "Then we'll ensure she's as comfortable as possible while nature takes its course." The tube was removed. My turn had come. I fought not to move a muscle, gave no sign I wanted to breathe, even though every instinct screamed otherwise. "She's not breathing on her own," Dr. Martinez announced, watching the monitors that were already following our agreed script. Around me, I heard silent sighs and shuffling feet, low conversations about how peaceful I looked. "Heart rate is dropping," Dr. Martinez said, playing his role to the end.